See, there we go. 3, 2, 1. And welcome back to Hoopsville on this Sunday evening, January 25th. Certainly talked plenty of UAA there. Again, the craziness of the UAA conference. But I want to thank all those at NYU for being such great hosts to me on Friday and getting a chance to talk to not only Coach Nesci, but also Coach Edwards from NYU and WashU on the men's side. Fun to watch the women, of course, there. 2 top 10 teams going at it and playing a terrific basketball game. One team who figures they'll see them in the future was there in FTU Florham. Coach Mark Mitchell was on hand to scout, pulled me aside and pointed out he was scouting for that game. Second time he's been in that gym. He's trying to get to know those teams pretty well. Another team he might want to know pretty well is the one we're going to talk to out of the Atlantic region, playing good basketball yet again. And if it's not FTU Florham getting the attention out of New Jersey, it's the Montclair State Redhawks. And joining us via Skype is the number 9 ranked Montclair State head coach Karin Harvey. Coach, welcome to Hoopsville, and thanks for taking the time.
Hey, Dave. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. First and foremost, congratulations on the season. Yet again, successful. This is kind of starting to become synonymous with your team. 17-1 overall, 10-1 in conference action. You got to be pretty thrilled, despite the loss to Richard Stockton just a little while ago. You got to be happy with how your team's performing so far.
Yeah, really happy. Very happy with how we're playing. You know, we went through a little stretch there where we were having tough first halves, and it kind of caught up to us in the Richard Stockton game. And they played extremely well. So give them all the credit. We kind of had a tough first half, and we dropped a game, and it happens from time to time. So, but I think I think in some ways it was good for us, as they say. Sometimes it's a good loss, and we're starting to play a little better, having better first halves, and just go from there.
You certainly know what it's like not to take a lot of losses and really have a good season through and through. 2 years ago, you guys finished 29-1, taking that loss to Christopher Newport in the Sweet 16. I know that was a bitter loss. Christopher Newport, I think, went on to the Final Four that year. I know that was a tough one, but you bounced back last year, only had 3 losses on the season, losing to eventual national champs, right. FTU Florham in the Elite Eight. So in some senses, you're a step away now from the Final Four. By natural progression, you should go there next year.
Dave, I hope that's how that works.
Exactly. And then, and continuing on. But at the same time, what FTU is kind of dealing with. They've won something like 50 straight games. You guys had that 29-0 mark at that point in the season. It gets tough to continue to win like this.
It does. It gets tough. Yeah, there's a lot of pressure, and a lot of it is the pressure you put on yourselves. So, but I think they're doing a good job dealing with it, and he has a lot of great pieces. So I'm sure they'll be ready to go.
What's it like for a team to you lose to FTU Florham, knocking on the doorstep of being able to go to the championship weekend? They end up winning a national championship. Does that take the sting out of it a little bit, or does that even maybe add to the sting?
I think it adds to it, to be honest. Yeah, I think, and obviously we turn it into a positive, but I think that makes it tough, especially in the Elite Eight game. Mm-hmm. I suppose you could go either way. You want to lose to the national championship? Okay. You lose to the national champion. You can say that. I think for us, though, we have a couple seniors now who know what it takes, and they are. It kind of fueled their fire. I think we had players that worked really hard over the summer, and they know that they can get there now. And so in a lot of ways, I think it's helped us this year, be a better basketball team.
I'm Phoebe.
Well, I think that's the interesting thing I found is that you technically have a young team.
I do. I'm glad you noticed that, because I tell people that and they don't believe me. Look at our roster.
I will tell you you've got a young team, because you only have 2 seniors on the squad, and by that token, it's a young team.
Right.
And I think that's what's surprising. That those seniors have only lost 5 games over the last 2.5 seasons, and yet it's the underclassmen who are getting the most experience out of this deal. You're led by, and forgive me, I'm probably going to butcher these names, so I apologize. Janiza Aquino.
Yep, Janitza. Yep.
Go ahead. You can correct me. It's more than happy.
It's Janitza.
Janitza, thank you. She is a senior, obviously, at 16.5 points a game. And then you have Melissa Toby, who's playing pretty good basketball for yourself as well. She's the other senior. Of course, they're the ones leading the way, 15.5 points a game for Toby. Of course, it looks like her sister's on the team as a guard. Yep, I got that. I hope right.
Yep, you got it right. Yep.
But so you've got this youth on the team, but you've got two seniors who are leading the way. They've only lost 5 games. It's an interesting dynamic there.
It is, and Melissa and Janitza obviously are two of our captains, and they're seniors now. They've been through this. They understand how important every game is, and they're doing a great job of leading and doing a great job of doing as much coaching, as our coaching staff is doing, and that's really making a difference. They've done a great job with our younger players, and I think it's fun for them. I also think it, in some ways, they're thinking less about their own play and really working hard to help the younger players in these situations. So in some ways, I think it's good.
What I find interesting is both of them have something on the stat sheet that jumps out at me besides the points.
Right.
From Janitza, it's the fact that she's averaging 3 assists a game.
Mm-hmm.
She's also shooting 38% from beyond the arc. She's an 85% free throw shooter, which nowadays I'm convinced is a lost art form.
Right.
And 43% for the floor. Then you go to Melissa. Besides the 15.5 points a game, she's pretty much averaging a double-double at 9.6 rebounds a game. She's also handing out 3.2 assists a game. Mm-hmm. She has 50 blocks. But the one that jumps out at me, she's a 39% outside shooter. She's taken 41 and hit 16. Those two alone could be a heck of a duo for a 2-on-2 basketball game.
Yeah, I think they'd probably like to take anyone on.
Yeah, seriously. But Melissa's, she's going to kill you inside. She's going to kill you outside. She's going to be defensively tough inside. She's willing to give up the ball. You turn around, Janitza's going to do the same thing. How important is that as a role model for this team?
I think it's huge. And, it's funny because we've had a couple games where Melissa and Janitza have done the most of the production, and after the game in the locker room, they're saying to their teammates, hey, we don't want to do this by ourselves. We want everyone to be involved. Take the shots. We're going to pass you the ball. Be ready to go. Be ready to attack. We need it to be balanced. So they're constantly sending the same message that I'm sending. They know that they can't do it alone, and they're really trying to get their teammates involved in every aspect. And I think they do a really good job of that.
Of course, jumps out at me, too, is Katie Toby, the freshman, comes in. She started all 18 games. She's averaging 3 assists a game. She may not be pouring in the points, but that doesn't seem like that's the necessary requirement for her job. So between those 3 players, that's 9 assists a game. Willing to give up the ball is clearly what this team is tasked to do.
Yeah, and, it's funny because it wasn't really anything that we don't really talk a lot about offense. We talk much more about defense and rebounding and those kind of things. But yeah, it's just something that they've sort of figured out, and they know they want it to be balanced, and they know that it makes it better for us. It makes us tougher to guard because any given day, the rest of the 8 or 9 in our rotation could have 10. I think even our last game we probably we're close to having, 3 or 4 players in double figures. And that's kind of how, it makes us tougher to guard for sure.
12 players have played 14 or more games this season. You're willing to go deep. You're averaging about 18 more points a game than your opponent. You're shooting 42%. You're allowing 36%, which more impressively, you're only allowing 25% from beyond the arc. And, of course, you're out rebounding your opponents, but maybe not as big a margin as I would expect it.
Right.
What's the secret maybe about this team? We know about Janitza. We know about Melissa. We know about Kate. Is there other players that we aren't talking about that maybe are the unsung heroes?
Yeah, I think we have a couple. Like you said, Kate Toby is a freshman point guard. And, and she's doing a great job in that role and continuing to get better every day. And then we have a junior that's also a captain for us. Kayla Sabelis is coming off the bench. She could easily be starting, but we just like her coming off the bench. She sort of accepted that role. She's a really unselfish player. And, she's playing about 20 minutes a game. I think she's shooting 45 or 50% from the floor. And then we have a sophomore post player, Sage Bennett, who's getting better every day. And she's good for maybe 8 points, 6 rebounds, depending on the day, and getting better defensively. And then, one of the big players for us is Katie Sire. She's a freshman out of the Shore Conference, and her scoring is up a little bit. I'm not sure. Maybe she's 9 points, 6 rebounds, but to watch her play, it's everything else that she does. I mean, she's all over the floor. She's a great defender, and she does a lot of little things. So I think I think that everybody's contributing, and then we have some of our sophomores really starting to develop, especially come January, and they're getting some 10, 12 minutes a game and really helping us.
Yeah, Katie Sire, you're right. 9 points a game, 6 rebounds a game, shooting 50% from the floor. You mentioned Sage. She's shooting, I'm not Sage, I'm sorry, Kayla. She's shooting 52% from the floor. Yeah. You're getting lots of options, which takes me back to the season that you're having so far. You look at the results. You guys, I think, probably I think everyone knew who you were. But when you go out west and play Willamette and Lewis and Clark, and it's not close. Well, the Lewis and Clark game was relatively close, 5 points, but you held both teams to 48, 49 points. And then you come home and get into conference action. That's a heck of a way to start the season and clearly put the foot down in the right direction.
Yeah, we've never done that before. We've never gone out of state for a tip-off tournament, but we were kind of looking at our scheduling, and it's a different style of basketball out there.
Yes.
And we wanted some experience, playing that. And we also, the other thing, Dave, is obviously having a cohesive unit is such a big part, a big piece of what you're doing. And we thought with a young team, it might be a great idea to get some team bonding, a trip in to start our season. And it worked out well for us. We had a great trip out there, and Lewis and Clark is a beautiful place to go, and we played well, and so it was a really good way to start our season.
Yeah, I can only imagine telling a bunch of New Jersey student athletes, "Hey, we're heading to the West Coast."
Yeah, and you know what? No one on my team, including myself, had ever been to Oregon, so it was pretty cool.
I'll admit I have not either, but I will be changing that in the next year. I can promise you that, thanks to my sister moving there. So that'll get easy. But you're right. I mean, and then you come right out of that into conference action.
Yeah.
You beat TCNJ. You smoked Kane, who's certainly a shell of their old self for varying reasons. And then you rolled along. And listen, you guys beat some teams that have been good over the years or are good this year. You beat Vassar, who certainly had made kind of, they're down a little bit this year, but had kind of come back into their own in the last few years. William Patterson, Marymount. You beat Salisbury. And you beat them at your place by 22. And that's a good Salisbury squad.
They're good. They're excellent, actually. I think we probably played one of the best first halves we played, and I think they were a little tight. I don't think that if we played them again, that would be I think they were nervous, to be honest. And Kelly's doing a great job, and they're playing really well. And so, yeah, I was happy that we played them when we did, and we played as well as we did.
Let's talk about this conference, though, because that's where you've taken the loss. That's where things have been interesting, to say the least, this year. You're tied with Stockton because of that loss. You're both 10-1. Stockton's certainly playing good basketball, at least on record.
Yes,
14-4 overall. Rowan is right behind you guys at 9-2. William Patterson lurking 3 games back, and Rutgers Newark. And there's a lot of teams who've got above 500 records this year.
Yeah.
The NJAC women, it tends to be really top-heavy. Over this year, it seems to have maybe some of the middle has come up maybe a little bit. How tough is this conference, or maybe is it just all smoke and mirrors?
No, I don't think so, Dave. Like we've been talking about it, is that our conference is better. And, these teams were young last year and the year before. And now, most of the conference besides us is older. I think Stockton is pretty top heavy, juniors and seniors, and Rowan the same thing. So they've had these same players for a while, and they're really playing good basketball. And William Patterson is always tough no matter what. They're young this year, but she does a great job there. And so yeah, I don't think. And Newark is tough. They've got some. We go there Wednesday, and I'm hoping the snowstorm allows us to practice. So everybody's tough. You can't take anyone for granted.
Yeah, you talk about the snowstorm. We'll talk about that in just a minute as well, but I'm kind of curious. You have the rematch coming with Richard Stockton to finish the regular season. Of course, you still got Rutgers Newark on the road. You got Ramapo on the road. Then you're at home against William Patterson, and then you'll have 2 of the next 4 at home. What's the message to the team? It's kind of the question I've been asking coaches over the last week or so. What's the message to your team now as you get back? You take on the second side of the grind, as it were, in the conference action, and the target's huge.
It's huge, yeah. And, I think right now what we have to talk about is we have to forget about Stockton for 6 games. I think that's like the challenge for us. Like we can't look ahead. We have to forget about them. We're going to see them the last game of the season, the regular season. And however, if we can do our job and they do their job, and it could be for, the number one seed in the conference, the home game. And that's huge. So, we just have to forget about them, and we have to play the games in front of us. That's the message I'm trying to tell my team. I mean, we're obviously all paying attention,
Yeah. Well, and talk about this region for a minute. FDU Florham now enters the region because the MAC Freedom is now in the Atlantic side.
Right.
You've also got some other teams, obviously, that you're normally dealing with outside of your conference as well. Right now, it looks like you guys and FDU Florham 1-2, and not in that order, I should say. FDU Florham undefeated would probably be 1, you guys 2. How important is it to secure home court for the NJAC? How important is it to secure home court for the NCAA tournament? And after you answer that, I got a twist question on it.
Okay. Home court for the NJAC is huge. I mean, that's what we want. That's really, I think it's really, really important. And obviously we've done well on our home court, minus this. The loss to Stockton is our first loss at home since 2012.
Right.
So we definitely want to try to get it home. So I think that's huge for our conference. And I think after, we've been in the NCAAs twice. The first time we played away and we played very well. Last year we played at home and obviously, kind of fell in love with it. So we certainly would love to have a first round, home game, but we'll do whatever.
The twist is on the other side of the Hudson's a really good basketball team in NYU. The other twist is on the other side of the Maryland, or the not Delaware River, I guess it could be appropriate to say that, is Scranton and some other teams. There's a lot of good basketball in your immediate area. There's good basketball north of you. There's good basketball south of you. The twist is NYU might not be able to host, at least the opening weekend. They're hosting something else. Yes, being a 2 is nice and positions you right, but how important is it to make sure you get the right road, as it were? So maybe being a 1 or a 2 and being in the right spot. I know a lot of that's out of your control, but does that also put some pressure on making sure you win when you need to win?
I think so. It's tough because obviously we have, 7 regular season games to go, and from there, but as a coaching staff, we know that one loss can hurt us, so there's nothing we can do about it now, but obviously in the back of our minds, we're like, we'd like to try to get home, and we're definitely paying attention. We scrimmaged NYU, so we know how good they are. And obviously we're very familiar with Scranton, and so we're paying attention to all the schools and having the right road. And we would talk about this with our team, like, hey, we can do our job, but it does require a little luck and a little good, you got to get a good path, and all those things go into going, to making a run.
And before I let you go, how important is the SOS in your mind? Are you guys, is a trip to out west to play Northwest Conference teams, to tap into that SOS kind of a motivating factor? Are you looking at your schedule now with a mentality of, I got to do more than just what my conference is going to give me?
Yes. I mean, I didn't know that in my first few years coaching. Like, I really didn't have a good understanding of that. Now, I'm on the regional committee now.
Yeah.
So that has certainly helped me.
You got where I was going.
Yeah, it certainly has helped. Yes. And that's what we're looking at. You're looking at categories like obviously win-loss percentage, but strength of schedule is of equal weight. So we try, sometimes you can't control it, but I think we did a good job with our strength of schedule this year for the most part. And I think, hopefully we'll get a couple of those teams we played. Baruch could get ranked. Salisbury could get ranked. Hopefully we'll have a couple wins over ranked opponents, and that will certainly help us too.
I can't believe Baruch or Salisbury wouldn't be ranked.
Right.
Considering the seasons that they've had. So, yeah, I mean, I forgot about the Baruch game, so thanks for bringing that one up too. I appreciate you taking time. I mean, clearly the Redhawks are playing good basketball. I would almost assume the bar is so high set that you have to play good basketball at this point in time.
Yes, you're right. It is.
And it certainly will help recruiting as well as time moves on. I appreciate you taking the time to join us. As always, though, we give the coach the final word. Any final thoughts you'd like to share with those who may be watching?
I just want to say thanks. Thanks for having me, and thanks for all you guys do at D3 Hoops. I mean, we love it. We're on the website 7, 8, 10 times a day. So you guys do a great job, and really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Coach. Terrific season, as we pointed out. Good luck the rest of the way. We'll certainly look forward to seeing how you guys do with the rest of the NJAC schedule.
Thanks a lot, Dave. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Karin Harvey joining us here on Hoopsville. Again, the team is 17-1 overall, 10-1 in NJAC play. That one loss to Richard Stockton. They can try and avenge that the last game of the season, but the next two to round off this next week and the month of January will be on the road against Rutgers, Newark, and Ramapo before they return home on the 4th against William Patterson, and then on the road on the 7th against Rutgers Camden. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more women's basketball here on this show and get you ready for the week ahead. Don't forget also Thursday's 12-hour marathon show coming up as well. You listen to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com and the National Association of Basketball Coaches. More Hoopsville right after this. Awesome, Coach. Thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time.